According to Dr. Mark Beckoff, up to 5,000 healthy zoo animals are killed each year. One of these animals might be that elephant or zebra you saw on your last visit. Does that make you feel uneasy? Growing up, my mother was a veterinarian. I've always been surrounded by animals and had developed an affection for them. After hearing about zoo-related tragedies on the news, I became interested in learning about the truth behind these institutions. According to National Geographic, a zoo is an accredited establishment that cares for wild animals. Advocates of zoos claim these institutions promote conservation and educate the public. Opponents claim that zoos cannot replicate an animal's natural habitat and mistreat animals. Zoos should be abolished, as they do more harm than good for society. Zoos have caused unnecessary suffering and death in the name of conservation and public enjoyment. The Association of Zoos and Aquariums estimates that 800,000 animals are in captivity. Zoos cause animal suffering. Many zoo enclosures cannot replicate an animal's natural habitat. According to Junior Scholastic magazine, animals that live in vast regions are forced to live in enclosures that are measured in square feet. U.S. law requires that animals only have enough room to stand up, sit down, and walk several steps. Zoos promote an unnatural interaction with the natural world. Zoos can lead to the death of animals. In extreme cases, animals can develop a condition known as zoochosis. Symptoms of zoochosis include swaying, pacing, and tearing out one's fur. In extreme cases, zoochosis can be fatal. Now that you are familiar with the problems associated with zoos, let's examine the causes of this issue. As an institution, zoos mislead the public by claiming one of the central purposes is conservation. While they do conserve animals, the efforts are rarely successful. Roger Holmberg, from the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, explains that zoos tend to favor popular and exotic animals. In addition, most animals kept in zoos are not endangered. Those that are endangered are rarely released back into the wild. Advocates claim that zoos are an insurance program for a species' survival. Justin Worland, a writer for Times Magazine, explains that zoos helped reestablish the California condor when only 30 remained in the wild. While this is a success story of conservation, there are few and far between. Most animals, such as elephants and lions, cannot adapt to life in the wild. Worland explains that zoos should spend at least 3% of their budget on field conservation efforts. If zoos truly cared about conservation, don't you think they'd spend more than 3%? Now that you're aware that zoos do not meet their purpose of conservation, I will share with you the tragedies governments allow to occur in zoos. Governments allow healthy animals to be killed. According to Dr. Mark Beckoff, culling is a practice of killing surplus animals that are no longer of use. Zoos cull animals whose genes are undesirable for breeding. According to BBC contributor Hannah Barnes, the Copenhagen Zoo culled lions, tigers, and leopards in 2014. Most famously, Marius the giraffe was killed. You will hear his story in a few minutes. In addition, zoos cull overrepresented animals. Culling animals directly contradicts conservation. Now that you're aware that governments allow zoos to kill healthy animals, I will now provide a solution to zoos misleading the public on conservation. Visitors should support alternative organizations that truly promote the conservation of animals. Catherine Sussman, a writer for ZooCheck, encourages visitors to support animal sanctuaries. A sanctuary differs from a zoo as it cares for unwanted and abused animals. In addition, Sussman encourages supporters to volunteer at a wildlife rehabilitation center. A rehabilitation center is focused on caring for injured, sick, or orphaned animals with the hope of releasing them back into the wild. A great local example is the Ohio Bird Sanctuary. By supporting these alternative organizations, visitors will help promote conservation and the proper treatment of animals. Along with supporting alternative organizations, visitors should petition the government to strictly regulate zoos. Governments should support alternative methods of population control. According to Sandy Ong, a contributor for Science Line, zoos can implement the use of contraceptives as an alternative to culling. Commonly used contraceptives include implants and oral medication. At this time, contraceptives are not widely used. However, they are favored in North American zoos, and culling is favored in European zoos. Visitors should also petition their politicians to ban culling and adopt contraceptives as the alternative measure. In addition, support candidates who value animal rights. I'd like to share with you the story of a young giraffe named Marius, a resident at the Copenhagen Zoo. Marius was a healthy 18-month-old giraffe. According to Ian Parker, a writer for The New Yorker, officials deemed Marius unsuitable for breeding. They decided he must be killed. Despite offers to rehome Marius, the giraffe was shot in the head with a gun. After being killed, he was dissected in front of families with small children. The pieces and parts of Marius were then fed to the lions for dinner. In conclusion, the atrocities that occur in zoos must be addressed. Today, you have learned that zoos do not promote the conservation of animals. In addition, they cull healthy animals. You are familiar with alternative organizations such as sanctuaries and rehabilitation centers. You are also familiar with the story of Marius the giraffe. Zoos should be abolished, as they do more harm than good for society. If nothing changes, there will be more stories of creatures just like Marius